Why does beer
Um,
foam up so much more in styrofoam than it does in glass or plastic? I
th-
need a scientist to tweet me on that.
that would be something you can probably Google at this very moment.
It'd be more
I'm sure
fun if I had a
there's.
scientist tweet me.
Okay, well, if you're a scientist, then you might know the answer. Please
Yeah.
tweet us at Fair to Heaven and Jerry Foltz. We would love to find out, or at least hear your thoughts on why beer foams more in a styrofoam cup than it does in a glass. It's another episode of Fairway to Heaven. This is a Live Golf podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. It is your regular host, myself, Sue Hang, and of course with me, Jared Foltz, who is the star of this show because he knows so much more about golf than I do. It is
Oh,
true.
that
It is true. We're both part of the Live Golf broadcast team, and we really want to just spend more time together during the off season. We miss each other way too much. And so, you know what? Why don't we spend an hour
that
each week on
didn't
Zoom?
sound sincere. That did not sound sincere. And by the way,
Because
there's
I
a
I
million
see the same shit every week.
there's a million places people can go to listen to an old white guy's opinion about whatever it is, in this case, golf. They don't tune in for me. They tune in for the glamorous, lovely, and edgy, which you
Oh,
are, Sue
yes.
Hang.
Sure.
And a lot of
Sure.
them
Sure.
hate me enough to tune in to you giving me shit, like my sister loves that the best of any of it.
Yes. Well, because you are old. So it is easy to give you shit.
Tell
Um,
me about it.
yes, yes. Jerry Foltz just had a cyst, or as he liked to over dramatize it, as a massive tumor that he got removed out of his very, very empty skull.
And
And
it was all because of the
now,
overseeding process, as it turns out. The vanity of
oh, it
getting a hair
is.
transplant.
Okay.
Yeah. The dermatologist said no chance it
Okay.
wasn't. So yeah, all part of the complications
It's a
of trying to prolong not looking like a geezer.
it's a price for beauty. It's never cheap. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. I don't know what's
Yeah,
next.
especially for you. I mean, it's got to be so expensive for you
I think I'm the reason other people get plastic surgery. I think that's the case.
because they look at themselves and they're like,
And they
I
see this.
really don't want to look like Jerry. Oh, I see where you go. Oh, I see.
There
I
you go.
see
All
where you're
right.
going with.
Carry on, woman.
Okay,
What are we
gotcha.
doing? We got segments
Anywho's,
back.
well, that's yes, we've got the segments back, kicking it off with our shotgun start. All right, international series. We're hot, hot, hot in the middle of it all. Three events left into the international series season. Uh, just to remind everyone who might not be as familiar with the international series, the winner of the international series rankings gets a spot into the Live Golf League. It is, I guess, a step up toward to the Live Golf League. It's a pathway, certainly so. And there's a lot of incentives to play really well on the international series, not just the monetary side of things, but also if you can stay on the international series, it's pretty, you get to play in the next season as well. So, plus a promotion event that's happening in December coming up. So, a lot of incentives to play well on the international series.
It is a pathway to Live Golf League, absolutely. And then when we get to our promotion, we call it the promotion event. It's what is it technically? Live Golf Promotions 2024 in Riyadh. Now that it's finally been announced, even though we knew that and we were dancing around it two podcasts ago. Um, but that's one spot in the league, and then the top 10 other 10 finishers not otherwise exempt get fully exempt pathway to the international series.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted,
Correct.
they're only playing for one spot. That's a pie in the sky. That's a pipe dream for most. But somebody's going to get that spot, and that's a life-changing spot, as we
Mm-hmm.
saw at last year's promotions. But they also are playing for a lot more money than these guys. Many of them who, at this point in their career, are journeymen. Now that's going to change as that continues to grow
Mm-hmm.
and Live continues to grow,
Yeah.
and the international series grows in esteem and value worldwide. And there will be tournaments not in Asia on the Asian Tour International Series, which I still call it that. I know they try and differentiate it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
run under the umbrella of the Asian Tour. And it's exciting. It's an exciting time for those players on the Asian Tour and those who make their way into the International Series. Series. And I mean, this last event in we say Indonesia in North America. I know you say Indonesia, but that was a pretty damn good field for Richard T. Lee to win.
And that was his first win in 7 years. He hasn't won in 7 years. I know Richard personally myself. He is a hilarious. Yes, I do. He's a great guy. He's got a fantastic game. I mean, his swing is so. I mean, if you watch it, it's just so. It's very fluid.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of Anthony Kim-ish. You know, I'm not saying exactly the same. I'm just saying in terms of the how fluid it is, and
yeah,
it's very efficient. He's a very talented young man, and it's his first win in 7 years. He's had a 7-year drought. He's been performing really well throughout the International Series season. In fact, he was runner-up the week before in Thailand, which was his top 10, 4 in a row top 10 on the International Series. So he's been knocking on the door.
Yeah. He's got John Catlin looking in the rearview mirror right now too for that top spot. Very much
Absolutely.
So. He has been a promising golfer for a long time. He grew up, I think it was in the Toronto area, Hamilton area.
Yes.
He's been a promising golfer for so long. We've heard about him for so long. He's 34 years old now. But I like, you say you love that name. I like his middle name, Taehoon. It just sounds so cool. Taehoon, Taehoon. Richard Taehoon Lee. I could have so much fun with that in a non-PG way. But he's been a great player for a long time, a promising player. But now at 34 years old, you're as Zoe barks over there at the pool guy. At 34 years old, you're at that point where you're realizing it's kind of a journeyman career now. It's time to get off the pot. And fortunately, there's role models for him within LIV that show that he can do it. Yeah. I mean, we got a 51-year-old who wins 2 majors this year in Dickie B. It's pretty damn cool.
I know.
That wasn't the intent of LIV, but I think it's one of the byproducts. Sorry.
But I think it's crazier that you're saying that 34-year-old is a journeyman.
Yes.
Half your age. He's half your age.
I haven't flipped you off yet. We're less than 5 minutes in. He's a little more than half. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, how do you call a 34-year-old? Like, anyways, don't worry about it.
Because I was a journeyman before I started my career.
Anyways, that win got Richard into second in the International Series ranking. So he is, like you said, hunting down John Catlin, who I believe is leading by some 24-ish points.
We got 2 guys on this call who could probably tell us, Nikki G and Willie B. They're on their Google right now.
Yes.
Maybe. Or
yes.
Maybe
it's
not.
Anyways, it's right about there, and with 3 events left to play. So it's getting close. John Catlin obviously been dominating the International Series for majority of the season. We've seen him perform in how many of our events on LIV this year? Was it 3 or 4?
I think it was a little bit more than that. I think he played 3 with.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think it was 4 or 5. Well, I mean, because Howell was out for 4 or 5 events, wasn't he? Charles? Was tibia, whatever. And then he played 4.
No, he did not just.
6 events. There we go, from balls. Yeah. And then he played for Legion 13 at the final event.
Say that.
What? It's a country.
It just, okay, sure. It just rolled off your, anyways. Yes, it's getting very close and very, very tight. As you mentioned, a very strong field in Indonesia, the Indonesian Masters. God.
I can't go on.
I'll go on for you. Lynn, guys, they were in the field. I'm holding up my phone because I can't remember. It's Kieran Vincent, Bubba Watson, Danny Lee, Scott Vincent, and John Catlin, who's obviously a reserve on the LIV Golf Week. Kieran came in 4th. Good to see him play well. Bubba had a hole-in-one on which day was that? This is Saturday?
Sure.
I would like to think. I think it was the 3rd day. Yeah. And donated a house to a family in need in Indonesia.
Yes, Habitat for Humanity,
Also, I
right?
think as part of, yeah, Habitat for Humanity, I think as you mentioned before we got on live, that he matched the donation, didn't he?
He did. He matched a donation from, oh, shit, who's calling me? Probably somebody trying to get me to vote. Today's election day, filming of this here in the U.S. So,
Yes.
which
Yes.
you are
God
visiting
bless
friends in
America.
California. God bless America. Um, yeah, no, Habitat for Humanity. They was set up where a hole in one would result in a house being donated to a family, and obviously these
Mhm.
there's a huge need. And then Bubba liked
Mhm.
the initiative so much he matched it and donated his own money out of his own pocket
Yes. Yeah.
for another one. And he's excited about doing more for that. As much as he does for charity for people less fortunate than he is, he still adopts new ones all the time, and he gets fully committed to them. So he's Bubba. He's
Yeah.
awesome.
Habitat for Humanity is awesome. It is pretty awesome. Well, not because it's a charity, but because it's different in the sense that you don't just donate the money. They encourage people to go there and actually
Yeah.
get on a more hands-on experience of not just seeing where your money's going, but also how it's being used. And you actually help build these houses literally brick by brick for these families. And there's a big process and a procedure as to who gets the house, and they help the family from bottom to the top, right? When we talk about education, we're talking about food, we're talking about farming, all these things that help a family who is really, really in need, give them a higher chance of success for the future, not just for their immediate family, but for the future of that family. So it
Yes.
is really, really cool. And I think the initiative is awesome. If for those listening, if you do go to Asia quite a bit, it is worth checking it out because you really do. It's an eye-opening experience. I
Yeah.
haven't done it yet, but I have seen those parts of the world. Um, and the poverty is so sad. It is
Yeah.
so sad how you look at some of these kids and what they
Yeah.
have to shower in and what they have to live in. So the initiative is awesome. So go
It's
online, check it out. But yeah, sorry, Colty, go ahead.
Oh, no, no, no. It's worldwide too. It's not just in Asia because they do it here in America. And almost
Yeah,
every one of the projects they do is almost 100% donated materials or volunteer labor. And it's such a great initiative. And
and
they give it to, granted, the American poverty is different than other parts of the country poverty, but it's still poverty. And it's tragic
yeah,
from the
absolutely.
living conditions based on our cultural standards. But it reminds me, there was a LPGA player, Hall of Fame member, Betsy King, who used to donate 10% of her earnings to Habitat for Humanity. And then she adopted another extremely admirable charity called Gulf 4, Fore, Africa. I think she started it. Basically, for a few $100s, you can change an entire village in Africa by providing the money that it takes to give them fresh water, to drill a single well. And from that, not only are the health benefits for that entire village immensely improved, but they begin to grow their own food. And there's so many LPGA players who visit Africa and they help do this and they raise so much money and donate so much of their time and their own money to this charity. And
Yeah,
it all spawned off from I believe her first experience with Habitat from Humanity.
that's so awesome. That is really awesome. Bubba Watson, hole in one, that was pretty cool to watch. Um, and it's good to watch, it's good to see him playing well. I think his
Yeah.
his game is trending back in the right direction. I think we mentioned a lot about his injury, recovering from his knee surgery, and how it takes really a lot of time, and the fact that he's really changed the way he's practiced, the way he's working out, the way he's eating. So there's a lot more drive in Bubba than people think or people giving him shit for. So
Yes. But the
um,
elephant in the room is, will Bubba be playing next year within Live?
yeah,
I've already expressed that I'd be shocked if the avenue wasn't made available for him, but it's not a guarantee at this point. I don't think he's
yes,
planning on attending Live Golf Promotions 2024. Um, so then it's a matter of the range codes getting together as an organization to which he has obviously a voting interest and seeing if he's best
yeah,
for the best possible option for the team. Bubba Watson is a known valuable entity brand within professional golf
I mean,
worldwide. And I think the league's better with him than without him. I know I firmly believe the range goats are going to come to that same conclusion.
100%. And you want to talk about growing a game of golf, that guy will move the needle in many ways, in ways that we talk about, and in some ways that we all aren't aware about. He's very much involved in many different ways and have influence in many different ways. So other things happening for our shotgun start. Charley Hall, the first win in 2 years at Riyadh Golf Club, which is where we're both going to be for the promotions event. You're going to be there first for the International Series, the Saudi International. I tell you what, Charley Hall, I've always liked her a lot, but now I really like her. I'm not condoning smoking by any means or any ways. You do what you want to do in your life. What I quite admire, I guess, is the fact that she's just herself. That to me is my main thing. It is refreshing. It's nice to see someone just go, you know what, I'm just gonna be me. You know, some people are gonna accept who I am and some people aren't. And that's okay. I'm just gonna be myself. And that's what she's doing. She's doing what she does, right? I know a lot of people are giving her a hard time about smoking and the influence of that on younger kids who might be watching, impact of the game, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to leave that stuff away. I'm just talking more for the fact that she's just being herself and she's being authentic. You know what I mean? And she's a personality. You know what I mean? She's a personality. And it's kind of cool.
I couldn't agree more. I first met Charley Hall at, I believe, the Solheim Cup in Colorado. She was really young. I mean, she might have been 16 years old, 17 years old. She went 5-0 in those matches. It was Beth Daniel. I don't remember who captained the European team. No, it was Meg Mallon, not Beth. And she went 5-0. She waxed Paula Creamer in singles. And then on the final green of their singles match, she asked Paula to autograph a golf ball for her, or for her autograph. It was like the cutest thing ever. And she hasn't changed since. What I love is her approach to the game is so simple, and it's so perfect for anybody who puts way too much time and energy into trying to figure out the secrets. There are no secrets. There is no elixir. Golf is an art. It's performed as an art. It's taught as a science. It's such a dichotomy there. Her entire mindset is, I hit the ball wherever it goes. She's so detached from the results. Tiger Woods in his heyday, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, he would hit the shot and his eyes had no anxiety, zero anxiety. He was detached from the results. She's so detached from the results because she hits it and she's like, I can't do anything about it now. I'll go find it and I'll hit it again. She plays extremely quickly. And the genuineness to herself is something I think everybody envies, because most of us in the world, we want to be ourselves, but there's always, as I say, masters to serve. There's always bosses. There's always the fear of rejection or the fear of people not liking you,
judging
you. Yes, and she doesn't give a fuck. And it's so genuine that she doesn't. And she is true to herself. And I for one, am jealous of the nuggets it takes to live your life that way.
Yeah, I know. And so huge congratulations to her. I mean, I can't believe she hasn't won in 2 years. She's so talented. God, she's talented. And so, yes, that ended her 2-year drought. So a lot of droughts in the last week that has been and has ended winning droughts between her and Richard Lee. But let's see what else happened in the golf world. Oh yeah, Cam Smith coming in tied third in Queensland. And and he had Grant Field, his coach, caddy for him. And this is what's great. He ended up playing, I can't remember if it was one or both of the kids that were on his scholarship program that he brought over to America for that whole experience, which is something Ken does every year, I think. He brings over 2 kids from Australia to come stay with him, practice with him, go to tournaments with him, watch how he practices, how he prepares, how he lives, and kind of get an inside look into his life. And he got to tee it up with them at the Queensland Open.
Yeah. That's so
Which
cool.
I think is so cool. It is so cool.
I
Can
do
you
too.
imagine?
Do you remember when they came out? I think it was Nashville. And I believe
Yeah.
we were in separate carts. You were with Dom and I was with Arlo or David, and we were on that par three tee, and they let the kids hit the shot as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
both of the kids got it inside Cam's shot. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
know. But it is really cool. So,
yeah,
as we've noted, he's going to spend a bit of time in Australia playing in some of his national opens, which I think is fantastic for the game of golf that side of the
yes.
world.
There
Yeah.
was our first, remember our first legendary visit to Singapore, my first visit to where you live. And
Mhm.
Dom and I spent that Tuesday. He wanted to show me the local culture,
And it's
and
at the
that ended up
boomerang.
at the Boomerang. And it was like Australia Day, and there was a big, huge, whatever, Aussie rules football game on. And it
Mhm.
was the only bar in that area of Singapore. What was the area? You know where it's at, whatever it's called.
Robertson Key.
Yeah,
Yes.
Robertson Key, which was
It's
really
right by the
cool, but it was
river. Yeah. Yeah.
dead except for this one place called the Boomerang. And we just left Adelaide. So we're in an Australian bar a day after leaving Australia, and we're surrounded by Australians. And there's this guy there who I met and got him tickets for the event, and he's been a constant correspondent with mine. I just call him Tank. That's what he goes by, Tank. I don't
Very,
even know his real name except on his email address. And he sent me this big long email about the last time we did a guest list podcast, and
yeah.
we talked a little bit about Jason Day, and we talked about Cam Smith, and he says you don't know what it's like in Australia. It's Cam Smith is the god. Obviously, Greg Norman was the first, not the first. They had Peter Thompson, they had Graham Marsh, they had so many Ian
Mhm.
Baker Finch come before, but Cam Smith has godlike following down there because
Yeah.
he's still Australian. He still acts Australian. He still makes a huge commitment to go down to Australia to compete. And in his own words, one of the major reasons he joined LIV Golf League, other than whatever life changes it made to him from a financial standpoint, was so he could go back and compete in Australia as much as he
Yeah.
can. And that,
Yeah.
I think, that has resonated with the 25 million people in that country so much. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, our experience twice in Adelaide has proven such. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, if that doesn't say the how influential the River Boys are, not just Cam, but just the
The
entire
boys.
Ripper team.
There you go
Yeah,
with the
the
boys
boys.
again. The Ripper
Shit,
boys.
the
It's
River
not the
Boys.
Range Goat
Uh,
boys or the Four Ace boys.
well, I just
It's
say
just the
the
Ripper boys.
Aces.
The Stinger
I say
boys.
I say the Aces, the Goats, the Stingers.
But they're
I don't
Rippers.
call them the Ripper, so I call them the
The
Ripper
Ripper
Boys. I don't know.
boys.
Anyways,
Ripper boys.
whatever, dude,
What?
whatever.
Jesus. It's
Like
not a compliment.
moving along,
Moving.
moving along. Okay, but now this is where Jerry is going to shine. I'll lead you to this one, Jerry. There has been some speculation of the PIF investment into the PGA Tour.
That's the really cool part about the story that broke in a British tabloid, and it's strictly a tabloid.
The Sun.
Um, the Sun, the Sun, and
Yeah.
they have a history of breaking stories that simply aren't true. This could be one of them. And I don't know the cool point I was getting at. The coolest part about all of the stories we hear about the PGA Tour, Liv's dead, Liv's gone, Liv's going to be this, Liv's going to be that, are all none of that information. Whatever information, wherever they portend to have got their information, it didn't come from our side because we work for our side. We're on the inside of our side, and we don't know what's going on. Period.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
that being said, from what I do know, and most of it is reading between the lines, if and when there is a deal done, I don't, in my opinion only, I don't think it'll look that much different than that which they reported. I think there is a genuine commitment to unifying the game from both sides. One side out of need, one side, our side, doesn't really need to do that, but wants to because it's the right thing, and it'll help our league in the long run. But it's the right thing, and And I'm not sure the PGA Tour current model is sustainable without some sort of coming together.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I doubt that it is. So, and we're already seeing them cutting back fields, I mean, basically emulating that which we have proven to be successful, which is people want to watch stars, and people have to become stars somehow, so they have to have access, but they want to watch the biggest names play the most. And of course, we'd like to see them play together more times than 4 times a year, because we have a shit ton of the stars in our league that don't have access because of the pettiness of one side who felt threatened by our side. But yeah, I think there is a benevolent nature in the basement of this entire thing from our side to want to do the right thing for the game, because the goal initially was to be additive to the game, although we faced roadblocks left and right because that wasn't accepted. And even though we're getting past those stumbling blocks now, I think there is a commitment to, well, we have to, number one, our league has a huge financial commitment from a fund that has a goal of continuing to provide prosperity to a country that under current oil production models runs out of oil in 2048. That's the whole nutshell of it. And there's a commitment within that organization to not be somebody who not appears, but that doesn't, they want to do the right thing. They want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I believe that. I have no information on it, but I believe that to be the absolute truth to why I think the deal will look a lot like this. However, the huge financial commitment on behalf of PIF into PGA Tour Enterprises, if and when it happens, will have a lot of checks and balances to make sure that there is still, that it's not giving money for a just a truce agreement.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, wouldn't it be something? Though, really, wouldn't it be something?
Good analysis.
Good. Wouldn't it be something? I mean, just the fact that the potential, or at least the thought of, which has been a thought for a long time, I think, from golf fans, more specifically, for the game to kind of start healing, right?
Yes.
Or coming together, or moving forward.
From a fan standpoint. From a fan standpoint. Because the game's booming right now. The game is absolutely booming.
Yeah, but we've got so many great players all around.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
Asian, Latino, we've got all over America, Europe, everywhere, you know, and it's such a great time for some kind of peace to happen, I guess.
I totally agree. And then, you know, when this does happen, hopefully the first tournament that's scheduled is a Ryder Cup. PGA Tour against LIV Golf. 12 players, our best 12, your best 12. Let's get together, duke it out, wherever the hell you want to do it, or we want to do it. And and then after that event, that emotional event that it'll be, those guys are all still friends. All of those guys are all still friends. They all still talk. They all understand why our guys made their decision and their guys made their decision. That's when after that, everything, it becomes a golf world again with different options for different players. And and it's unfortunate that it has taken this long to get there, but like I've said since day one, that wasn't our choice. Our side. I say our side because we work for LIV. We were not involved in these negotiations, and I've worked
and
for
we know nothing, John.
We know nothing, but it's a shame that it's the way it's been handled has to have come to this. But I think those who are the most important behind our side have been prepared to, when time is right, make sure everything's done properly. And I think that's where we're getting close to right now.
And again, I want to clarify that this is all speculation. We're just having a discussion, an open discussion between two friends over a water and a beer, I believe. So, you know, no one knows. We'll never know till it actually becomes real news.
Why does beer
Um,
foam up so much more in styrofoam than it does in glass or plastic? I
th-
need a scientist to tweet me on that.
that would be something you can probably Google at this very moment.
It'd be more
I'm sure
fun if I had a
there's.
scientist tweet me.
Okay, well, if you're a scientist, then you might know the answer. Please
Yeah.
tweet us at Fair to Heaven and Jerry Foltz. We would love to find out, or at least hear your thoughts on why beer foams more in a styrofoam cup than it does in a glass.
Yeah.
That wasn't great soapbox, Jerry. You're just so goddamn good at all that. You're just so good at that
No, no,
stuff.
no, 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 no. Listen, you and I, and to a lesser degree, every single player, every single public figure, not that we would be considered public figures, we're talking heads. People watch TV and they know us because of that. But everyone has taken arrows because of their decision to join LIV. Very, very few have fought back to tell their side because everybody has a side and a reason for why they did what they did. And we've all been encouraged by our top leadership to just tell them why LIV is good. Don't tell them why their opinion is bad. To not fight back, as Greg said, take the high road because there's less traffic. Greg Norman, I'm speaking of, and that was in London in 2022. It's been so hard to sit there and see that stuff and not take it personally, and then after time, you just like, you know what? I think I know what the eventuality is going to be here, and so in
Yeah,
time, you will see that this is not going to be a bad thing for golf. LIV golf is not going to be a bad thing for professional
you
golf. It's
know,
going to be a great thing. It already is
yeah.
from our
It's
standpoint.
gonna,
It's going to be a great thing for the entire professional golf landscape. And it's just a matter of the power brokers in the game pre-LIV for them to realize the benefit for them, whether it's the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, the major championships. The Asian Tour obviously already got a huge boost because of PIF and LIV. It's when they realize that, then I think we see an elevated professional golf landscape internationally and domestically in the U.S. that we never even imagined. Never imagined.
well, I'll tell you what, we'll have a taste of the dream event that you mentioned at the start of the year, that the
We will.
PGA
It's gonna
versus
be
LIV.
cool.
We will have a taste of it in December. The showdown was Kepka, Bryson DeChambeau versus Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. So if that doesn't make you turn on the TV, and if that's not an indication of what it could be, that would be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what this is all going to be about. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, imagine having that all the time.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You
But it
know,
wouldn't be all the
imagine that.
time. It wouldn't be all the
It would
time,
be
but
all
it'd be
the,
more than
but
four
it'll be more
times.
than four. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be maybe 6, 7, maybe selected events. You
Yeah.
know, who knows? Like what the potential could be. I mean, it could be endless potential at this point. And don't talk about teams. You know what I mean? Like if we just let our, I guess, idealistic thoughts keep going, right? Whether in terms of like what if Rory had his own team, what if Scotty had his own team, how that would look like, not just all of them competing together as an individual. You know what I mean? Like so much could
Yeah.
happen for the game of golf to make it even better than what it is and what it was and what it could be.
Well, it's team sports in general. Team sports basically are the barometer by which all other sports are measured because throughout the world, whether it's cricket in India, whether it's Aussie rules or rugby in Australia, whether it's soccer in England and many
Yeah.
other parts of the world, or American football here in the US, team sports are the things that live on for generations and generations and generations and generations. My granddad, which is the long since passed away, lived outside Cincinnati where my parents were raised. He was a Cincinnati Reds fan his entire life. I'm sure his dad was as well. I don't know the genealogy of my family, but that kind of thing gets passed down through time. You know, Scotty Scheffler is the greatest golfer in the world right now. That's undebatable. If he continues that for the next 10 years, at some point he's going to get old and he's going to retire. Then all you're left with are the memories of Scotty Scheffler. If there's a Scotty Scheffler team or he played for a team, the Yankees or the Dodgers or whoever of golf, that lives on forever. The legend of that team and what he contributed brings a whole nother dimension to it. And that is exactly what LIV Golf brought to the table. Obviously, the TGL is going to do a version of that with simulator golf in an indoor dome with live audience. But there is the value in that is untapped. If there is value, I think there is. I know the people behind LIV think there's huge value in that. And then you look at the offshoots of what that means globally, where Ripper in Stinger in South Africa will build an institute, and there will be scholarships, and there will be so much charitable work.
I mean, we heard Phil talk about that. With, the potential of the high flyers, and even Bryson talking about having their own golf course and then becoming a home game and having people train there and help kids run through scholarships and training programs for all these kids who might want to play golf.
Yeah, and they're already starting to do it. I know one of the teams is already starting to sign junior golfers to just basically right now to get free gear and wear it, but for the purpose of putting them in the organization early, much like baseball does at a very young age, not childish, but when kids are 18, they can sign professional baseball contracts and they could be within that farm system forever. They're creating farm systems already, and eventually those farm systems within LIV will have facilities, they'll have institutes, they'll have scholarships, they'll have all kinds of outreach, and they become tourist destinations for golfers to go there and play and see. And yes, it'll be awesome.
It really is kind of like modeled around the Premier League soccer, football, as
a little bit.
People in my country, where you have your home stadium, that stadium goes through. They have scholarship programs. They have kids that come through and do the summer camps, right? The training camps. People fly. I mean, people fly all the way to go and see, the Manchester United Stadium or the Chelsea Stadium, the Arsenal Stadium, because they're fans of the team. So I think, and look, people are going to give us shit for even talking about this or even going there about the LIV Golf League. We've only been around for 3 seasons. And this is
3 seasons, but with 2.5 years. 2.5 years. 30 months.
And it's already starting. The ball started rolling. There is a slight ripple effect already. And we've only been around for this short amount of time. Imagine if there's some kind of unity, what that could actually do to the game of golf. So, fingers crossed.
I was watching a DP World Tour event because I sleep odd hours because, as you say, I'm fucking ancient. And one of the commentators, because granted, most of the narrative behind commentary within DP World Tour and PGA Tour is not allowed to mention LIV in any positive way. They're just not allowed to. That's the marching orders. I'm sorry, it's the truth, whether you like it or not. And he mentioned the fact of how many kids were out there that day, much like the story I told about the golf pro in Sydney who had one of the biggest junior golf tournaments in Australia. And he reported that the amount of Ripper's gear and LIV Golf gear worn by the kids out there was huge. This guy was really taken back by how many LIV teams were represented amongst the gallery at this DP World Tour event.
That's awesome.
It goes to show the value of teams, of people wanting to root for a team. I couldn't tell you a single player on the Packers team right now. Not a single. My son could tell you the whole roster. And I'm a Packers fan because I married into a Packers family, my ex, Jane. And so, but I watch their score every day. And if they're on TV, I'll watch them. And I'll always watch the Packers forever. And I'll always root for them, not knowing the players. That is the value of team sports.
Yeah. 100%. And look, I know I mentioned Adelaide already, but that atmosphere on the 18th this year during the team playoff with South Africa, basically South Africa versus Australia, and the rowdiness and the patriotism of the people was certainly felt within everybody who was on site. You can feel that
you were out
even
there with
on
them.
Screen.
You were, as Colt Knost and Drew Stoltz like to say, you were amongst it. I was not amongst it. I was in the booth. I was in the booth with rowdy Australians dancing on the roof. I was worried they were going to fall through. I was in fear for my own well-being, but it was such a cool scene. Such a cool
It was
scene.
such a cool scene. And look, everyone, people are going to probably tweet it, oh, well, it happens in a Ryder Cup. Oh, you see the waste management. Sure. Yes. But not the kind of like country team type vibe. I mean, I'm talking about waste management. Obviously, we're not talking about the Ryder Cup. We're not talking about
No,
President's Cup. Both events only happening twice, once in every 2 years, pardon me, which is not enough, in my opinion. It's
no,
not enough.
no.
I mean, uh, people love the team camaraderie, the
Yes, yes,
atmosphere,
yes, yes.
and hooking onto a team.
But it was so good natured. It was so good natured as well. Everything about Australia was so good natured. It's very much like the Solheim Cup. It's rowdy and it's cool it's biased, but it's good natured. I was walking with Rory's group at Hazeltine when he went up into the gallery. It was reported. I was like 3 feet from him when he darted up in the gallery, and I was talking with one of our other commentators who was walking along with my group with some of the wives, and he said, "This is on American soil." And he said, "You wouldn't believe the comments these people are throwing out at the wives, the names they're calling them, and this and that of the European wives." And it's like they've gone off the rails. And
Yeah,
Beth Page, I'm sorry, it's going to be. I almost don't want to see what's going to happen there because it's
yeah,
become so vitriolic, and it doesn't need to be. Now, granted, when a football team goes into Philadelphia, those fans legitimately hate every single person who's there with that football team. They don't just say it; they actually legitimately
yeah,
hate them. But
yeah,
that's team sports in that regard. With the Ryder
yeah.
Cup, it's gone off the rails from a vitriolic standpoint, from a bias standpoint, and that's unfortunate. We were in Australia as much as they wanted Stinger to win.
Yeah,
There were like two comments Burmester told me. Dean told us both.
yeah,
Two comments
yeah.
that were
From
off
one guy,
from
from
one
the
guy.
one
One
guy.
guy. 40,000 people out there.
Yes,
One guy. Yes. So
one
that's
guy.
kind of the cool part about where golf should be, and that's I think
Yeah.
what we have seen in Adelaide for 2 years.
Well, let's hope we're heading in that direction, shall we?
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
only hope and pray for it. By the way, I'm going to call this the out of bounds stakes. I'm going to go out of bounds right now.
Okay.
Congratulations to the Dodgers, by the way. If you're a Dodger fan, congratulations. I mean, I got to watch that game. Uh, that was a phenomenal, phenomenal game. That was, I mean, I'm not a big baseball fan myself, but I do like watching the World Series. And I'm sorry to the Yankee fans, including some of our bosses who are Yankee fans. And our producer is probably listening in right now, who's going, shut the fuck up. Stop reminding me of that painful moment. But congratulations to all Dodger fans. It's a good sign to be
Oh,
in LA. What can I say?
yes. And by the way, our producer, Keith Hirschland, who is a dyed in the wool San Francisco Giants fan, his two favorite teams are the Giants and who's ever playing the Dodgers. So I knew it hurt him as well. And I
Oh,
enjoy that. I enjoy it
yeah,
so
yeah,
much.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was really cool. All right, let's move on to our next segment. We're calling it the forecast. This is where we predict and we talk about things that could happen or might happen in the future. Um,
Aha.
yeah, I mean, the only thing really that could be speculated right now are team trades.
Yes.
Right now, the potential free agent that moves, the trade that could happen on all of our 13 teams. The fact that there could be another team, who knows? Big question mark. All speculation. We talked about this in the last episode. But let's look at our list. I made a list. Let's see. We've got Crushers who are going to be staying. They've announced they're staying. We've got Rippers who are staying. The Ripper Boys.
Ripper
We've
Boys.
got Torquay who are staying. We've got Majestics who are, from what I'm hearing, staying. So that leaves us with, let's go through the list, shall we? Let's go through Ace. So Pet Perez, Harold Varner the third. Those are question marks, I think,
Huge,
for the
huge
Aces.
question marks. Huge
Yeah,
question marks. Yes. I I
yeah.
I I don't know how happy Harold was with his experience. I don't I know for a fact that Pat feels like he's in limbo right now. It might have changed since
Sure.
last time I heard that report. Not a fact, but pretty reliable information. DJ and Pat are great friends. if DJ and his organization, and he's got a great organization behind him. He was one of the first to hire a world-class CEO as the GM. If they find it difficult to improve in their minds, then I think DJ offers Pat a position right away. But if they find it easy, as these talks are happening right now behind the scenes with other players throughout the world, then I don't know Pat Perez's future. But
yeah, let's remind our viewers, though, the 49ers has had a terrible season this year.
For them, by their standards, yes. They were our Yankees.
Standards.
They were our dynasty for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then but Varner, and we've said this many times, it's public knowledge by now, Varner has a contract within the LIV Golf League for next year. He finished in the open zone, not the relegation zone. So
it was very close.
He will be on a team, or he will be within LIV Golf next year. So now the league gets involved in these trades as well. At this stage in our existence, eventually it'll be rubber stamp. But in this stage, there's also a league involvement. But where he ends up, if it's not with the Aces,
where could you see him going? Where could you see Varner?
I could see him going back to the Goats, but because I know he fits in well with that makeup. But that would leave the other guy who I know, at least when we talked to him on our podcast 3 or 4 weeks ago, Thomas Peters, who was still up in the air whether he was going to be a range goat or not, or he's going somewhere else. I don't know if Uline's for sure.
There's Uline and there's Matthew Wolf.
Yeah, well, Wolfie and Bubba are going to be together if Bubba still remains on the team. Wolfie and Bubba will be together for eternity within LIV Golf. Yes, they're meant to be together. They're just too much. They're so different and too much alike. They're two peas in a pod. Yeah, they belong together. And Wolfie, I mean, if I were a team GM or a team captain, if he were available, he's the first guy I signed because his upside is enormous. What is he? Still only 24, 25 years old. He's a kid.
He's getting married, and he's getting married, I believe, I would like to say December or January.
Yeah, he's breaking into prison.
So, but our next team with a big question mark, and I think this is one that a lot of fans are also wondering. Legion 13, obviously, Kieran Vincent in the relegation zone. He will be going to the promotions event, I'm pretty sure. What's going to happen with that team? Now, Cyril's definitely staying there. Caleb's definitely staying there because John handpicked Caleb for his team. John has openly talked about his list, right, of potential recruits. I don't know, man. It could be, I mean, there's some really hot Spanish amateurs out there right now. I mean, I don't know.
Hot like how?
Hot like, like Fuego. They're playing good. They're playing great golf.
Yes. He's got a couple of great options from Spanish amateurs right now. And I think I don't know. John and I aren't like texting each other every day or any day.
You're not?
But no, not yet. No. I'm sure he'll warm up to me eventually. But I think I feel comfortable in predicting he's going to go young. He's not going to go, a available guy from World DP or PGA Tour who wants to come join LIV, who probably could improve the team. He's going to go young and potential because, I mean,
that's
look
what
at what they
Caleb
did this year. I know, and Caleb was #1 ranked amateur in the world.
Yeah,
he's gonna be looking at that list before he looks at any other list and see who he can get. So I think he's going young. Well, what do you think? I mean, you're out there with these guys. You know the GMs better than I do. You ask questions.
They've done a very good job in being very diplomatic with their answers. So I know as much as you do, Faulty. I mean, look, I do agree with you. I think he's going to go the younger route. I think John has really embraced, and I know this for sure, that he's really embraced the role of a captain, but also as a mentor, as someone who coaches somebody, which is exactly what he did with Caleb this entire season. This is Caleb's first year as a professional golfer. So he had a lot to learn. It was a very, very steep learning curve. And I know he's been there through it all with Caleb. And I think he actually really enjoys that. I think it took him a while to get used to that role as a captain, to get used to that role as a mentor, because it's been such an individual sport for him. But I think he's really enjoying that side of
Yeah.
being on the league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's really happy with that. So I do think he will go with the younger option. I do think he'll go with someone who's up and coming. But it leaves us with then what Fireball is going to do, because Fireball is in a very similar situation. Now, I know, probably Abe and Poosh, I mean, those two, they're not going anywhere.
They're not going
right?
anywhere. They're not going anywhere. There's no chance they're going anywhere.
There's a huge Latino influence on that team, right?
Yeah.
They could definitely come in and slouch the hot Spanish amateur too. I mean, we
might be competing. Literally, those two might be competing for the same guys. And
I
those
think
guys
what would it come down to, Faulty, though? Would it be money? Would it be contractual?
Yes. The teams can now offer these players, the league, from a signing bonus standpoint. I think that's pretty much over, unless there's a massive John Rahm type star that joins the league. So the teams can now offer a better deal, whether it be a percentage of that captain's equity in the team, or what have you, a better deal, a financial incentive to join that team, because the teams are still competing for a shit ton of money every year, as we know. So they can do that, and then it becomes down to, if you're one of those kids that they might be competing for, and we don't know that, but I can't imagine that's not happening. Then it's like, where am I going to become the best player I can be? Where am I going to fit in? Where am I going to be able to perform my best?
Let's press pause real quick. If I was a kid and I would to be like, okay, getting offers. No, I'm not. As you already said, that Richard Lee, who's 34 and younger than me, is a journeyman. That does not make me a kid. Let's see. So
when you're 62, it does.
So let's just say I'm a kid and I'm the top amateur, and I'm thinking, I got a call from John Rahm and I get a call from Rich Garcia. How do you then determine where do I go to be better at golf? I mean, like, seriously, how do you make that decision? How do you make that decision? You go Spanish legend
or Spanish legend.
Or Spanish legend.
Right.
Where do I go?
I have no fucking earthly idea.
But how cool would that be, though, if it was true? And again, I want to remind our listeners, this is a speculation. If, let's say, it is a Spanish amateur.
Whole show is speculation.
How crazy would that be to get that call? John Rahm and Sergio go, hey, come and join my team. It's like getting a call from, I don't know what it is in like soccer terms, like getting a call from like Lionel Messi and a call from, I don't know, Ronaldo.
Yeah. No, I see. I when I was getting recruited to play college golf in the States, I had teams call me and offer me scholarship money to not go to their school.
Yeah.
So
please don't come here. We'll give you money not to come here.
I forget which player line it was, but he said, "Yeah, Titleist pays me $100,000 a year to not play their golf ball."
But I think that those two teams, I think it could be really interesting. Fireballs on Legion 13, the dynamic behind the closed doors dynamic, what the negotiation could be if it was a Spanish amateur. Now, Torquay staying the same. Now, high flyers, Tringale, that's a big question mark too.
Yeah,
we know. I mean, Scaly's not going anywhere. We've already heard from Andy Ogletree that he's staying. Right.
Yeah.
So Tringale, the question mark. What could happen with the high flyers? Who could fill the crew? Or what's he thinking?
I don't know. I can't imagine Phil taking a chance unless it's a huge name player on anybody other than Tringale. The guy's solid, major contributor to the team, solid as a rock, great in the team room, super nice guy, funny as shit, even though he doesn't play it off like he is. He's absolutely hilarious and just a really good dude. And I think that means a lot to Phil. And Phil, Phil is a great many things. And one of those attributes is an extremely loyal human being.
I
Extremely
was
loyal
just about
human.
to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have the
Yeah.
SoCal tie
They
too.
do.
You know
They
what I
do.
mean?
Yeah. I can't imagine Cam not being there. Yeah, I can't imagine
Yeah,
that.
me too. Me too. Me too. I
But he's
agree.
not in the lock zone
Um,
either. He's not guaranteed a job. He is not guaranteed
exactly.
a job. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, so Phil's not obligated to provide a contract.
No, no. But yeah.
I've got cleats, Kale Samara, that's a big question mark. We talk about Lauren Kama potentially wanting that to be a Scandinavian title by potentially even a rebrand. Not sure, question mark there. We've already speculated about the cleats. There's some really good Scandinavian players out there. I mean, holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Um, Smash, that's a big one we haven't talked about. We've got Kovrak on that list of whether he'll still be in Smash. Graham Dow,
GMAC
question
is a
mark.
big question
GMAC
mark. We
is a
haven't even
big
talked
question
about
mark.
hardly. Yeah. Big question mark.
Exactly. So those two names, right? I can't imagine Gooch is going to depart from the Smash
No.
team.
Fuck no.
So I mean, where's Brooks going with
Yeah.
Team Smash?
I don't know if he makes a move. I really don't know if he makes a move. Again, he's Brooks sees the world through a different light than basically anybody else. Did you see the Halloween photo of the family, by the way? It was
Yeah,
so cool.
so good.
It was so good. Yeah, crew looked
it
awesome.
was very good. Yeah.
But no, Brooks cares about being around good people.
Yes.
More than he cares about being around the best players in the world. And he's surrounded by good people right now. I don't think he I don't expect him to make a change, but he also has a great organization as well behind him who might encourage him for the benefit of the organization and the team brand to maybe make a move. Like it wouldn't be two, maybe make a move. I don't see that happening. But we also,
I don't know either.
The reality of it is we have a lot of players in our league who might, if their best days of golf aren't behind them, they're not far off. Not a lot, but quite a few. And, you know, we talk about Kokrak. Kokrak's a great guy and a great player and ton of potential to this day. I think he has 5 or 6 more years of great golf ahead of him. But if you can get a younger player, 10 or 15 years younger, who has 20 years of great golf ahead of him, who's going to be the bigger asset for the team? Do you go for immediate rewards, which would be Koepka all day, or not Koepka, but Kokrak all day long, or do you go for long-term benefit? That's the beauty of our league right now.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the potential, and again, speculative, potential of someone calling Brooks. Hey, I want to be on your team, you know? And putting that in Brooks's mind too.
Oh, do you know something? That kind of had an air of...
No. Oh my God, hell no. I do not know
something.
Scotty
Scheffler called Brooks? Are you kidding me?
We're going to so get in trouble. No, I do not. First of all, I do not know anything. I'm just saying, anyways, anyone can call any of these captains and say, hey, I want to be on your team. I love...
Who was it?
You know, who knows?
Who was it?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
No, but you're right. The point is, your point is very valid. Yes, they are. They're getting calls.
The captains might not think about changing their teams, but then they get a phone call for X, Y, and Z and be like, hey, and you'd be like, holy shit, what do I do? You know, what do I do? What do I do as a team captain? You know? Anyways, moving on. Ironheads, we've got Scott Vincent and Junichiro Kazuma. We know Scott Vincent is in the relegation zone. I know he's probably going to go to the promotions event. Junichiro, we saw his performance at the team event. I'm not sure what Kevin Na is going to do with him yet. No one knows. We haven't heard a single word. I don't know if he's going to keep him, but I have this feeling that Kevin's going to go with an all-Asian, of Asian descent type team.
I agree. I totally agree.
I think that's what he's going to go ahead with. And there's a few who are playing very well in the world of golf at this
moment.
Richard T. Lee. We've got, Sanjay.
Yeah. We have tons. We have tons on the PGA Tour. Tom Kim. There's all kinds. That, you know, with a looming agreement in the balance, there's no guarantee that a deal is ever going to happen. There's absolutely no guarantee a deal is ever going to happen. I think personally it will. I think most people want it to happen. I know from one side from necessity, from the other side, because it'll be good. It'll be good in the back end for our league, but it'll be good for the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that a lot of the players are realizing that, it's if there's a deal in the balance, if there's a deal happening in the next year or two or next week or two, might not be a bad time to have my agent call their GM. It might not be a bad time to see, and that's what's kind of sucks about the way our league is 14 events and it was over so early and even earlier next year is we hear those footsteps on the ground when we're at tournaments. We hear whether it's a lot of it that we probably shouldn't hear, and now we're kind of in the lurch like everybody else. And I know those players are talking to each other, those GMs are talking to each other, the league officials are in the mix with all of this, and like all of our fans and all golf fans, we're kind of going based on our instincts. And yeah, I wish I knew more. Every call I have with anybody who works within LIV is, what do you hear? What do you hear? What do you hear? And the answer is always the same. I know what you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've got the Stinger team, Majestic such thing. Same. So the Stinger team, with Brendan Grace, big question mark there as to what will happen or could happen. I'm not 100% sure, but I am 98% sure, 98% of the time, that they'll probably stick within all South African type theme.
I'm 100% sure they want Brandon Grace. I'm not 100% sure that eventuality will play out.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see all that unfold. Yeah.
I think it's quite likely.
Yeah.
If they have a spot, and if the league has a spot and they have a spot, there is a pathway for them to re-sign Brandon. I'd be shocked if that's not the case, but you never fucking know.
Yeah. Well, he's playing he's finding form again. So hopefully.
He's Brandon Grace.
That leads us to our final segment called the final round. This is just a wrap up of our final thoughts. I don't have any, other than after this conversation that you and I have had. I'm pretty sure the GMs and everybody who would have said something to us will not say anything to us anymore.
Yeah, they will. They don't have to. You can read them.
No. But
like the exit polling people at all the polling places in America, they have these exit pollsters, these people that try and survey the audience to report back to their camps who's voting for whom. They're reading people. We can read them. We can read them.
Well, I don't know if I can.
Yeah,
you can. But again, you can do it. It's all speculative, and I think we're just having some fun, going through what could happen, might happen, coulda, woulda. I don't have any final thoughts. Do you, Gary?
No, my final thought is I miss seeing you in person. I look forward to seeing you in Riyadh. We'll have a good time.
Oh, yeah. I how many weeks is that? We thought about 5 weeks to
I don't know. Traveling with Karen
6
for a
weeks.
couple of them to LPGA events, and then I go there the week before. Yeah, maybe if my visa gets approved. Has to be in by tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's right. We need to get a visa. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode of A Fairway to Heaven. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed our useless rants. If you do love this podcast, please do subscribe. We're back on the LIV Golf YouTube page. You can find all of the episodes there in case you missed any. We have spoken to some really incredible guests in our previous episodes, so please do find the ones that you like and click on them. And do share it with your friends, all right? And we are also on we have our very own social channels on TikTok, Instagram, as well as the Access at Fairway to Heaven _LIV Golf, at FTH _LIV Golf, that is. So find us there, do follow us, like us, leave us your comments. You can also DM us privately through those accounts. And you can find us wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Spotify or Apple or wherever you consume your podcast. That wraps up the episode.
You do that so well.
You need to do that stuff. All right. Well,
No,
I'm gonna just the next episode, I'm just gonna sit back and just be like, so what are we doing? What are we doing?
What else? I'll fuck it up. Thanks. That was fun. I enjoyed the banter back and forth.
I fuck it up every week. Yeah, of
No, you
course.
fuck it up
I do
lovably. I
too.
fuck it up like a senile old man. Speaking of which, it is election day.
Yes. Yes, it is election day. And by the time this comes out, I think we would find out who the new
No,
president
odds
will
are,
be.
odds are, odds are we won't know for a week. But
Oh,
anyway, I
really?
got to run. I love,
Okay.
yeah, it's gonna
Okay. All right.
Pennsylvania's a swing state. That's gonna all come down to that, and it's neck and neck. So we might, and they don't know their counting process takes 5 to 6 days, so we can be fucked for a while. Anyway,
Okay.
love
All
you,
right.
miss
Good.
you, and I got a minute to get on this other call. So sorry.
Okay. All right. See you guys.
All right, see
Peace.
ya.